Hi everybody and welcome back to my booktube channel, Books with Leo. My name's Leora and I talk on here about books. I was trying to have my bangs out today, but they're really too long and they're in my eyes and I look like I'm still half asleep, so we're not doing it. I'm a little bit sad about it because my whole look was put together, but it's okay, it's all fine. So there's more things we care about on this channel than my bangs, and that is books, obviously. I've read quite a lot of books in September. I'm not 100% sure how many, but we will see at the end of this video, and you might already know because of the title or the thumbnail, but it's a mystery to current me. So today's wrap up is going to be a little tiny bit different because, as you can see, I got new bookshelves. They're right here behind me. They're really beautiful. I'm delighted. If you've watched my last video in which I unboxed the September fairy loot, you've already seen me in front of these beautiful shelves. But if you haven't watched that one, then this is the first time you see me in my new location. I'm really excited. So yeah, I have a few tiny little clips of me decorating the shelves behind me, so I thought that might be fun to edit in between my wrap up. I'm not sure if this is going to be a success, but I guess we'll see. And yeah, I'm just really excited to talk about all the books that I read in September. Let's just get into it. I have read a lot on Scribd this past month, a lot. I think I only read 2 books that I actually physically own, so that's kind of wow. I didn't see that coming. But I'm just going to open up my Goodreads right now to double check everything I read in September. There are also so many books that I'm so excited about for October. So if you want to see my October TBR, it is already online. So definitely check that out or check it out there. I don't know where it is. Currently, I've read 115 books so far this year. I do feel like I've really been pressuring myself to read more, and I kind of want to tone that down and just relax and enjoy. So I might not read a lot the coming months. We'll see. I don't do monthly wrap-ups anyway. I just do them when I feel like it. So it's not a big deal, I think. The first book that I read in September was The Subtweet by Vivek Shraya. I loved this. At the beginning, I was kind of not sure whether I liked it because we have 2 main characters. One is called Rukmini and the other one is called Neela, and they are both musicians, they're both creatives, and Neela is a sort of underground indie artist, and she's never really broke through and become famous, but she's kind of well known in her area. And Rukmini is a cover artist, and Rukmini covers one of Neela's songs, thus making that song super popular. And so Neela's a little bit salty about this. She's not super happy, but then she decides to have a coffee with Rukmini and they actually become best friends. And this book just follows their friendship. It talks about racism as well and their experiences as musicians of color. It talks about creativity, about being in creative school. But mostly it's really a book about friendship, about female friendship, and about the hardships that comes with sometimes. And yeah, it was really interesting. Social media also played a big part in this book. So the influence of social media on our friendships and on our lives. And yeah, there were some really interesting critiques in this book towards how people of color are treated in the workplace, and certain prejudices that we have, but also just their names getting, spoken wrongly. I don't know, there were many good things about this book because Neela is she's very sarcastic, and she can come off as a bit unlikable in the beginning of the book. So that's I didn't enjoy her perspective as much as I did with Rukmini's. But as I got further into the story, I realized that Neela is just, because of her experiences, she's decided to take no shit no more. And that's actually really admirable. So then I really started enjoying her character. So that was some growth for me personally. So yeah, that was really interesting to read about, and I really enjoyed this read. Can we talk about that cover? I love the cover. I love the illustration style. So yeah, I think that is why I picked it up initially. And I listened to this one as an audiobook on Scribd, by the way. Okay, next book I read was The Cutting Season by Attica Locke. I'd really been wanting to try a thriller by Attica Locke for a long time, so I'm really delighted that I got to this one finally. The Cutting Season is basically about this woman she's a descendant of slaves, and her family before her used to work as slaves on this plantation, and she's currently still working on the plantation in current day, but she's working there as sort of a supervisor, and she manages the museum and stuff. She does tours on the property, and she lives there on the land together with her daughter. But then awful murder happens on the land, and this ties all the way back to the days of the slavery when there were still people working on the plantations. and the workers that work there currently that are immigrants. And yeah, this story, it was really gripping, but most of all, the suspense and the atmosphere was amazing. I think Attica Locke is so good. The atmosphere in her books, it's so gripping. It felt like she had locked me up in a little cage, and like I wanted to get out, but also I didn't want to get out, and I couldn't breathe, and it was really good. That was kind of a weird description, but it feels really like sort of narrowing in a way, and you feel almost caught, the same way the main characters feel like caught up in their lives in the plantation, and like they can't escape their faith somehow. And I just thought that was so interesting and so well done. Many interesting underlying themes in this as well. It was so well done, and it was so gripping, and yeah, I thought it was a great thriller, and I am looking forward to picking up more Attica Locke in the future. Next up, I listened to Get Alive, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I'd been wanting to read this book for a very long time, but I hadn't found a chance to pick it up. But now I found it on Scribd. I'm a walking Scribd commercial. I found it on Scribd, and I was like, let's listen to it. And it took me some time to get into, because boy, the lady that narrated this book is like an old British lady, or that's what she sounds like, and it was just so lame in the beginning, and especially when we got to the sex scenes and stuff, I was just like, it's like my British grandma is reading erotica to me, and it was horrible. So it took some getting used to, but in the end, I really enjoyed it. Oh, this makes it sound like I have a horrible kink. I really don't, but I don't know, it was good. I have never really read romance books. I have read a few, but not a lot. And so now diving straight into adult romance was quite the step for me, because I'm so used to like fantasy fade to black romance. That's like not romance at all, actually. And there were sex scenes in this book. Jesus, I had to get used to it. I sound like a virgin right now. Anyway, it was really good. I loved everything about this book. It's basically about Chloe, who's chronically ill, and about Red, who's the supervisor of her building, and she makes a list to get a life, and then he helps her with it, and they fall in love, and it is so good. It was super enjoyable. I've heard some people say that they didn't like the way things wrapped up in the end on BookTube, but I disagree. I think this book was really like a tribute to people who have such a hard time choosing for love and choosing for themselves and choosing to do the things they're scared of, and that is something I highly relate to with my anxiety and my many issues. No, I'm fine. It's just something I really relate to, and yeah, I thought it was beautiful the way that Chloe chose love and chose to overcome her barriers, and yeah, really inspiring. So it was such a heartfelt novel, and also still at the same time such a light and fun read. So I really enjoyed this one, and I really want to pick up the next Talia Hibbert books of the Brown sisters that come out. So I'm really excited. Ooh, the next book I did read physically. Next book I read is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, I can't speak. This book, it was so good. I enjoyed it so much. Elias got me to read this because of his vlog. He cried in that vlog, and let me tell you, I cried as well. Just up front, I'm a very emotional person. Like, I will cry at videos of baby calves and stuff, like baby cows. They will make me cry. I'm a crier, what can I say? I was so good. I enjoyed it so much. I thought it was middle grade, but now I'm doubting myself because the main character is 45 years old, and it's really revolving around him, or he's middle-aged. I'm not sure if he's 45. I don't know how I came up with that. Anyway, I don't know. This was sort of a mashup for me of like Umbrella Academy and also some Neil Gaiman novels where a really bland protagonist, that is not that bland after all, but has a very bland life, gets like thrown into this magical world. And so basically this world is like, there's magical children and magical people, and they are sort of the outcasts of society. And there are all these magical orphanages where these children go, and there's one orphanage which is led by a very vague man that is just so weird but so wonderful. And like the ministry that manages all these orphanages, and that is very prejudiced, may I say, and has many flaws. They have like people that work in the field that go to the orphanages to check if everything's okay there. And so they sent Linus, one of their best field workers, to this orphanage. And Linus has a bland life. He's not really happy. I don't know, his life kind of feels stuck and stranded. And he goes to this orphanage, and he sort of, he becomes a family with all these wonderful people that live there and all the magical children. And yeah, it was so heartwarming, and it's full of found family, and it was so good, and I'm almost getting emotional talking about it. I really loved it, so I would recommend anybody to please pick this up if it isn't just for the beautiful cover alone. Next up, I read a non-fiction book. I know, who is she? It's me, I'm reading non-fiction. And that book was Lady Killers, Deadly Women Throughout History, and the title already gives it away, but this is a book filled with basically stories about female serial killers, and it's non-fiction, so it's just like where they came from, what they did. It's a very humorous book, even though it's a heavy topic. And it talks about sexism as well, because a lot of female serial killers are not seen as dangerous or are sort of laughed off because they're women, even though they're very dangerous and they've created many harmful things. And yeah, there were many stereotypes that were talked about in this book as well, such as like the what's it called again? God, the femme fatale was like a big thing that was talked about in this book, but also like the evil grandmother stereotype. And yeah, it was just really interesting. Many serial killers, many time periods. I especially loved reading about these Victorian evil ladies that killed all their maids. I mean, it's horrible, but it's so fascinating. So yeah, this was super interesting to read about. It was, of course, very heavy topics, and it was handled well and with respect. But it was at the same time very, what can I say? It was humorously written, so they kept it light in a way, which is really great. So yeah, I really enjoyed this non-fiction read. Next book I read is Rebreakers Wars by Nina Polak, which I also read physically, but it's way up there and I can't be bothered to grab it, so I'm sorry, I guess. And this book is a Dutch book, like you already heard. I think freely translated, this would be called A Lack is a Big Word, I guess. It's a really ugly translation, but you get the gist. This book is about Skip, who is actually called Ninka, and she is a sailor currently. She's traveling around the world, but she's sort of trying to escape her past because she's got some things there. And then she goes back to Amsterdam for the summer after meeting her adoptive family on her travels. So she re-meets them there, and then she goes back to Amsterdam to live with them for a while, and she basically picks back her own life at home. This book was really poetic. It really made me fall in love with the Dutch language again. Nina Polak is one of my favourite Dutch writers, one of my favourite Dutch authors anyway. And it's just, the way she writes, very lyrically, but very dry at other points. Typical Dutch literature, I feel like, but in a good way. And yeah, it was just really enjoyable. What else did I read? Right, the next thing I read was Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. I've been talking about this book a lot. I've talked about it in my vlogs as well. I loved this book so much. Oh my god, you guys, if you need to pick up any book during Halloween, during this season, during like autumnal, winter season, please let it be Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. This story is about Yadriel, who is a trans boy in a bruja family, so like family full of witches. And basically this book is full of ghosts because Yadriel's nephew gets murdered, and he tries to summon him as a ghost to prove himself as a brujo, like a boy witch. That's called a wizard, Leora. Anyway, he tries to prove himself as a brujo. His family is really struggling with the whole concept of transgender, and so he tries to prove himself as a man because his powers did not come through, like his women powers, because he's a boy. So Yadriel summons his dead nephew to try and find out who killed him, but he accidentally summons the school's a bad boy, Julian. Oh, it was so good. And of course, Julian and Yadriel start feeling things for each other, and this book was so lovely. I love ghost stories anyway, and I think the way the culture and just transgender topics were weaved into this story was amazing. I think a very important young adult read, and I'm so happy it exists. So please pick it up if you're looking for some spooky vibes this season. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun and really good, and it hit me hard at certain points as well. The audiobook is really good as well. Okay, what else did I read? Right, then I read a couple of graphic novels. I'm just gonna whip these all together because like I can't speak about them for too long anyway because they were all like significantly short. So I read Pandoras Legacy by Cara Leppard, which is part 1. Pandoras Legacy is this book that is, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of Percy Jackson, but that's mostly just because there's Greek mythology in it. So it's about these children that move, and they found this really weird tomb near their house, and they get weaved into this whole adventure with monsters and Greek mythology figures and stuff. And that cat can talk, and he's very snarky. That was one of the best things about this graphic novel. Also, the art is gorgeous. I love the art. Very unique art style. I've not seen many art styles similar to this one, so it was really cool. And then I read Heavy Vinyl part 4. I'm really enjoying Heavy Vinyl. It's one of my favorite graphic novel series at the moment. It's by Carly Ustin, and it's so good. I love it. It's about these girls in a vinyl store that are fighting evil as like a feminist girl fighting evil group. I can never say this normally. I always wound up using many random words to describe this. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this one so far. And part 4 was just as good as the other ones. And then I read Over the Garden Wall, Volume 1 by Jim Campbell. Over the Garden Wall is very popular, but I don't really get it yet. I did enjoy this first volume. It's very feel-good, it's very cutesy, and I flew through it. I did, however, kind of forgot what the story is about, but I think it's about this guy who can escape to a different world from his bedroom, and he's like really tiny and cute. And I know I would have enjoyed this so much as a kid as well, because I had like this actual book about a guy who could do that as well. A really weird Dutch book, which I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, I really enjoyed this graphic novel. Then I read a Neil Gaiman book. Who saw it coming? Crazy. So the Neil Gaiman book I read was The Sleeper and the Spindle. It was so good. I loved it. This is basically a fairy tale, a twisted fairy tale. It was like, the plot was a little bit underwhelming because like we've been there, we know. It's basically Sleeping Beauty, but it was so twisted and dark, and the illustrations really added to it. It was really beautiful, and it was just, I don't know. I love Neil Gaiman, so I would probably read The Man's Grocery List, so I'm not super critical of him, I'll be fair. But yeah, I loved it, and the illustrations are to die for. Then I read The Secret of Platform 13 by Eva Ibbotson. I hated this book. I did really not enjoy it. I thought it was like all the nostalgia of Harry Potter by She Who Must Not Be Named, but like the worst parts of Harry Potter. So like the fat phobia and some of the prejudices about the way you look and the way you are on the inside. And I don't know. It just felt as if Eva Ibbotson was trying to say everybody who's ugly is also evil. With this book, I don't know. It just really struck a wrong way with me, because I can remember reading stuff like this as a child and thinking that ugly people are always evil. Like, that's not literally what I thought, but it influences you in a subtle way, these kind of stories that have these kind of narratives, like, underlying, you know? So, I don't know. I've read many great middle grade the past couple of years, like, for example, Nevermore, and this is just not one of them, so I didn't enjoy it. It's basically about this world where magical doors open every 9 years between one world and the other, which was a cool concept. But yeah, I don't know. It's about a prince who gets stolen away from one kingdom to the other in the door, and then 9 years later they come to get him back, but he doesn't want to go back because he's very spoiled and fat. I don't know. It was kind of fat phobic, and I didn't enjoy it. Then the next 2 books, I'm not entirely sure if I actually finished these in September or on like the 1st of October, but I'm just going to, put them in this wrap up anyway, because, well, I don't know what else to do, because I'm not sure if I will be filming a wrap up next month. So the first one is The Under Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. I've been wanting to read this book for a very long time, but I never got around to it. And then I saw it on Scribd, and I was like, hey, this is a great opportunity for me to read it. So I did. This story is about, God, what's she called again? Olive and Ethan. And basically, Ethan is the brother of the guy that Olive's sister, twin sister, is getting married to. And everybody on the wedding gets violently ill. That was one of the worst scenes I've ever read. Like, everybody was projectile vomiting. It was so gross. So the wedding is sort of cancelled, and the honeymoon is cancelled as well. And then Olive and Ethan have to go on the honeymoon together because, like, the happily wed pair cannot go, and they hate each other. But then, of course, they start to like each other because there's attraction and tension. I'm really getting into romance, guys. I enjoyed this a lot. I didn't enjoy it as much as Get a Life, Chloe Brown, but I did really enjoy it. And yeah, I can't wait to discuss this book with my friend Mika, because she taught me to talk to her about it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, I don't know what's up with me today. I don't know what else to say. I really enjoyed this book. It was a bit like, in the end, I felt like it was dragging on a bit. But I did also really enjoy the family dynamics in this book and like the sisterhood of the 2 sisters, because I can relate to that, because me and my sister are also very close. So, the last book I read was Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. I'm not entirely sure what I felt about this book. I did cry as well finishing this book. It's basically about, oh God, how do you even explain? It's about a bank robbery gone wrong. And then basically you get to know all the characters involved in the bank robbery through the police reports, like the police interviews, but also through just like reading about the bank robbery and stuff. Suicide Trigger, it all ties together to one suicide that happened like 10 years ago in the bridge, that the apartment in which the hostage situation after the bank robbery is taking place in. It was a very complicated sentence. This book is in a way bittersweet because it's very, it's got some harrowing subjects. I think suicide is a very big subject in this book, which I did not know going in. And the will to live, choosing to live, the relationship you have to the people surround you, having empathy is also some very big themes in this book, or at least what I took away from it. I read on Scribd that it was feel good. I don't know who came up with that. This is the third time I'm filming the rest of this video because my camera was acting up. Anyway, I was talking about anxious people. Whoever came up with that this is a feel-good book, I don't know. I disagree. I sobbed, okay? This book made me so sad. It was good, but it's some harrowing subjects that are being discussed in this book. There were several paragraphs with some social justice comments that I felt a little bit icky about, but overall this book felt so heartfelt and genuine to me. There were so many great topics discussed that I did really enjoy it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars or 4. I'm not really sure, but I did really enjoy it. But it's not feel good, okay? I am mad about this. It's not feel good. I love feel good books, but this is not one of them. It was great, but it's not feel good. So that's my take on this. Anyway, this was my September wrap up. Let me know if you enjoyed this type of video where there's a mix of a wrap up and me decorating some shelves. Hope you like the shelves. Hope you like the new setup. Definitely let me know if you enjoy the new setup. And yeah, I really want to try out some more filming locations in my house. So I'm glad to have at least one extra. Yeah, if you're a regular watcher but you never know what to comment, please comment a cow emoji, because baby cows make me cry and cows are cute, so this is very random, but please just do it if you never know what to comment, because this is a thing. Sometimes I watch many booktubers, but I don't always know anything useful to comment, so yeah, I thought this would be nice so I can see how many of you guys are still out there and watching me, and yeah, so we can say hi. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this wrap up, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys! Baby cows? Why the baby cows? I don't know. They're so cute, guys. They're cute.